So, when it comes to YouTube's abandonment of the individual, the thing we have to watch Twitch for, tell me if the stuff on this slide sounds hauntingly familiar or not. So here's YouTube's progression and why folks like myself are upset about YouTube and trying other platforms like Twitch. So when I joined YouTube in the mid 2000s, it was still very solidly in the broadcast yourself era, the era of early vloggers that built the platform. The progression as we headed from the 2000s to the 2010s was towards favoritism. There were preferred individuals that were getting special treatment as corporations started becoming curious about YouTube. So there were certain creators that had a leg up over everybody else. They could appear to break policy and not get punished the same way as other YouTubers. They could abuse systems and not be held accountable for it. There were people that were upset with these people, obviously, that were receiving blatant favoritism from YouTube. Until the focus on YouTube moved away from individuals into what I call the corporatism era. And this is where old media sets up channels. You get late night comedy shows in your recommended if you haven't subscribed to people. Just more and more commercial content that buries channels. And at the end of all of this is Dailymotion, what we just looked at. UGC is buried by design. So let's fill in some bullet points on here. So when I first joined YouTube in the mid-2000s, literally a nobody could become somebody. Stick to the content long enough, do everything that, say, the people that tell you how to grow Twitch channels and stuff, what they tell you to do. Stick to it long enough and you would eventually become somebody on YouTube, even if you started from square one. And this era of YouTube is the primary reason why I don't listen to people who tell me that any of these platforms is oversaturated. One of the excuses I get from people that are trying to either justify my channel not being as big as they wish it was, or their channel not being as big as they wish that it was, is, oh, well, YouTube's oversaturated. YouTube has been oversaturated for most, if not all, of its existence. Before the Me Too movement kind of hijacked the term Me Too, there's a little something in marketing called Me Too products. Someone becomes successful with something, and then the Me Too products come along. Other companies make competing products to almost but not quite copy the success of something that has already succeeded. And that's when you start talking about intellectual property and whether lawyers should get involved and things along those lines. Are these people stealing someone's good idea, trying to profit off of it, or is it just different enough to be its own thing? So, in the early days of YouTube, there were lots of technical issues as well. Technical issues held back content quality. It took a good personality to grow. So everybody had, except for the director's program, for the most part, you're talking 10-minute videos, 100 megabyte uploads, limits on the bitrate, limits on the resolution. There wasn't even stereo sound in original YouTube. A huge, huge difference from what we have today, obviously. So, yeah, very, very, very different world. But a nobody could become somebody because you grew even if you were a nobody on there. You think, for example, of the third and fourth tier video game reviewers chasing after what the AVGN did. Were they ever as big as the AVGN? No. But people knew who they were. And if you hung around the community long enough, you knew who these people were too, even though they got started very, very late. This is something that Twitch does not have right now when it comes to people becoming streamers and being stuck at the bottom everywhere they go. And in terms of favoritism, special treatment, this is where we start talking about some YouTubers that were big back in the day, may not even be around nowadays, or may not be as big as they used to be. Favoritism. This is where Twitch is at, by the way. There are certain personalities that are big, they make the platform money, and so they blatantly get special treatment. So when I see these people complaining about, for example, certain streamers on Twitch getting away with stuff, I know that I've seen this before. What is this, some kind of Castlevania type song? Yeah, Ghost Chase Thriller. Alright, let's get some basic piano stuff going here. So favoritism. 3 creators that I can tell you right off the top of my head who are accused of this is Irate Gamer, iJustine, and Ray William Johnson. So, I think iJustine's the only one still making regular content. But Irate Gamer, iJustine, and Ray William Johnson were 3 names of people who were accused of being given special treatment. They could get away with stuff. They could strike down people's content. They could do things that got other people thrown off the site and just get warnings, things like that. So, to not name and shame on the final version of this slide, which, well, by the way, is very, very dated naming and shaming, if you want to call it that. You're talking around 2010 or so, late 2000s, early 2010s when all this was going on. But let's just say, favoritism, the favoritism era corresponds to where Twitch is at in 2020. So, this is the concern here. Because if Twitch continues in the direction of where YouTube went, the next step is corporatism. This is where there will be corporate channels on Twitch. There will be mainstream media, there will be businesses streaming, and when this happens, the individual's ability to amount to something starts to dwindle. Some examples of this. In today's YouTube, you have late-night comedy shows being plugged as YouTube videos. So you have television content that gets converted into YouTube stuff. So for example, Late Night with So-and-so becomes a channel and it gets into your recommended list. And on your front page, and on your, hey, watch this. There could even be a special section just for commercial partners. But the bottom line is, individuals get treated like garbage. Collective entities rule the roost. And this is where it gets interesting, because I follow the YouTube customer service Twitter, and some of the names of people complaining about being treated like garbage aren't small creators. So, the ice is melting. Good. I want the ice to water down this drink. Maybe I should have used the other water bottle to melt the ice faster, because the vacuum seal's busted. Yeah. So, here's the thing. Not every name that I've seen complain on YouTube's customer service Twitters are small creators I've never heard of before. I've seen stuff from Paul's Hardware, who has a sizable PC hardware channel. Today I was looking at something from LA Beast, who is a personality I've known of for years, actually, who did things like fitness dares and food dares and stuff like that. I've also seen other stuff from decent-sized creators going on to Team YouTube to complain about something. So it's not just itty-bitty channels I've never heard of before that are showing up on there. But the pattern that we see is that while YouTube is turning into, and we should probably do Microsoft Edge for this, while YouTube is turning into an experience where you see old media ruling new media. So you go to YouTube and you're being recommended television shows. I think we need to fire up Microsoft Edge. Does the Microsoft Edge scene still work? Alright, let me go to Microsoft Edge. Let me go to Microsoft Edge and nuke everything again like I always do with Microsoft Edge. Let's see. Reset! Let's reset everything. I want to reset everything. I want to clear the history. Privacy. Let's see here. Clear everything. I want to clear everything from all time. Everything. Autofill data, passwords, everything. All data. Get rid of it. Let's see here. Okay, now let's go to YouTube with a fresh version of Microsoft Edge. Does it even still work? All right. Let's see what we got here. Best of YouTube. We're not even going to do that. We're right on the front page. All right, Microsoft Edge. Does that still work? Yes, it does. So here is vanilla YouTube. What do we got? Josh Dubs, a Sniper Wolf, some TikTok-y thing, Mr. Beast, JRE Clips, Jimmy Kimmel. There we go. Jimmy Kimmel, Adult Swim, Donut Media. Here's what's trending. Adult Swim, Donut Media, Blake Shelton, music, Adult Swim, Jimmy Kimmel. This is what people are talking about here. Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, Vanity Fair. Basically, music all over the place, of course. Music to inspire change. So, Gordon Ramsay. Yeah, we're seeing some CNN, Yahoo Finance, Today, CBS Evening News, Bloomberg, the Smithsonian. So we're seeing collective establishments. We're seeing, and we got movies and stuff. We can do that kind of stuff as well. But yeah, there we go. Bada bing. There are some YouTube channels on here that are among the biggest of the big, produced all the heck, pseudo-commercial channels in and of themselves. And some of the biggest YouTube channels that you'll see if you actually go to YouTube as somebody who's never used YouTube before are YouTubers with teams behind them. So they're businesses anyways. So individual creators, even big individual creators, will show up complaining to the customer service team while collective entities rule the roost. And finally, the final step of all of this is Dailymotion, where UGC is buried by design. And we should probably mention the philosophy since Dailymotion got bought out. So here it is. There are two kinds of content on Dailymotion: commercial content and UGC. UGC equals user generated content equals YouTube videos made derogatory. So the way it works, commercial content is promoted. UGC is not. There you go. So you figure people that became something on Twitch sometime in the last couple of years, and some of the good things I have to say about Twitch and the various Twitch communities that I become part of, they correspond to this era early in YouTube where individuals were actually valued, and it was about broadcasting yourself. And quite literally, it built the platform. Twitch is over here in the favoritism step. The next step will be an emphasis away from individuals towards corporate content, and then the final destination is what Dailymotion is today. This is what you need to be concerned about. This is why I sounded the alarm, even though Twitch added what looks like an innocuous looking sports channel.